Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera, and this is your home for all things food and pop culture. Just a couple of reminders. I want you to make sure you're following me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content on all social media feeds, Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. A couple of programming reminders. We are continuing to do Top Chef recaps all season, so make sure to like and follow on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform of choice. Chef Amadeus. Chef, thank you so much for joining me for week 5 of Top Chef season 21. We're talking about supper clubs. What's your experience with supper clubs? You mentioned last week you were hosting one or doing one. Is it kind of similar to what we're going to be talking about here today?
No, this is gonna be a little different. That one that was on Top Chef is more of a traditional supper club type of thing. The one
Okay.
that I do is just a group of folks that get together and allow me to create and flow. Um, the what's great thing about the supper club is those that are how can I say well seasoned
Uh-huh.
have been around where a lot of things have been traditional things like the
Right.
supper clubs. You see, there's a way there's a way things come out. It's sort of like in Japanese cuisine, they have an omakase, and then they have a kaisake. And the kaisake, the meal comes out in a certain order. Omakase, which I love doing, it's all in the chef's hands. So I'm glad they took it back to a traditional and let them put a twist on that whole supper club type of theme, which is really good for the younger chefs to see what was done in the past. And yes, you can put a twist on it, but don't forget the history where it came from.
So before we get into the main elimination challenge of the supper club, let's talk about the quick fire. The chefs are given $100 to shop at the Dane County Farmers Market for ingredients. It's the largest producer only farmers market, and the chefs aren't told what the quick fire is, and they're not going to find out until after they get done shopping. So this is really interesting. They don't know what they're cooking. And looking at this farmers market, I got to tell you, Wisconsin was never on my list as a destination vacation spot, but I love a good farmers market. And looking at this farmers market, it just looked so spectacular. It was huge, and it just looked like a lot of people are there. And I mean, I may have to make a weekend trip to Madison one day and go check it out.
And listen, these farmers markets are just amazing. Like I said, I used to live in Seattle, and everybody knows by Pike Place Market. But the great thing about Seattle is during the summertime, dude, there's a farmers market in everybody's neighborhood, and everybody coincides with everybody. Like on Wednesdays, they have it in Columbia City, which I love going and hanging out in Columbia City. Um, they take over this area that I mean, and the food is fresh. You talk to the farmers and the folks that make the cheese, the whole nine. It's just amazing. And then they have one in Wallingford. They have one. I mean, just farmers markets all over the place. So, like I say, when I moved from Jacksonville, Florida, to Seattle, my food and taste buds were just bursting with excitement.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool to see. So Kristen sends them off and they get 30 minutes to shop. Said they're going out and they're running around like crazy. Can you imagine like being one of the regular shoppers at the farmers market and you see these like, a couple of dozen chefs just like running around like crazy people trying to get ingredients like, sorry, let me cut in front of you. I got to get this stuff. And then I love Dan. He's just kind of taking his time. He's moseying along. He's like, I don't run. And I'm like, Dan, that's me, man. I don't run either. He's just like taking his time. He's like, look, it's going to be there when I get there. But yeah, that was a fun start. One thing that was kind of interesting while they were shopping, they were doing kind of the interviews and everything. Savannah, she's been practicing quick fires before coming on the show. She said her husband was kind of testing her on quick fires, so she was kind of getting used to that. And when we're 21 seasons into Top Chef, and if you have any ambition of going on this show, the moment you apply and the moment you find out you're accepted, that's what you got to do, right? I mean, you got to practice, you got to learn about where you're going, you got to learn about the culture of the possible cities that you're going to be visiting, the major cities in the state you're going to be in or area you're going to be in, and you got to start learning. What do you think of Savannah kind of saying, hey, I've been practicing quick fires for a while now?
Well, I mean, you have to because on Top Chef, you may start in Wisconsin And like I said, who knows where the finale is going to be? It
Right.
may be in Timbuktu. Like one year they took it to Mexico, and it's like, so it's just you have no idea. But practicing your quick fires is always something good. And if you own a restaurant, and I mean, if I own a restaurant, I'm going on Top Chef. My specials will be done on the spot. Just grab something and like boom,
Yeah.
chef special, boom, throw it together, presentation wise, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, practicing your craft is always important. And all of these chefs have been practicing and practicing and practicing. That's how, and people always ask me, how do they come up with this stuff? It's embedded in their head because it's a spin-off of what they've done before.
Right. Right.
All these dishes that they come up with, they may not have came up with that dish, but they've made a they made that dish technique, that thought process came up before. And now they're like, oh, okay, I know I did it with that before, but now I'm gonna do it with this since I only have, scallops to use, or yeah, the budget is low or something like that. So yeah, these chefs, trust me, even the ones that have been eliminated, their mind is still fresh and popping.
Yeah. And Charlie, I think, did the smart thing, and he said he was buying versatile ingredients that can be done with anything, right? He's trying to pick out some common ingredients that can be used in a lot of different dishes. So what did you think about where their heads were at when they were shopping for ingredients that they didn't know what they were going to do with?
I like where their head was because, like I say, you don't know what the challenge is. So a lot of them picked, ingredients that, like I say, like that was versatile, that in their comfort zone, or something they could do a spin-off on. Like I said, that's the great thing. As long as you learn the technique, you can spin off anything. And in my head, that's what I would have done. Okay, I don't know I don't know what the quick fire is going to be or the challenge is going to be, but let me just pick things that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was a really smart sort of thing. I thought Rasika was playing just in case card, but it looks like she did okay there. So let's talk about the guest judges for this one and for the rest of the challenge. So we have guest judges W. Kamau Bell and Tori Miller. I'm a big fan of Kamau Bell. I love his comedy. I think he's hilarious. His show United Shades of America, I think, is really good. Tori Miller, I don't know him. He's a James Beard award-winning chef, and they were cooking at his restaurant there in Madison for the quick fire. So Kristen tells the chefs about the University of Wisconsin in Madison and its resident hall chef from the 20s and 50s, Carson Gully. He and his wife were the first African American couple to host a cooking show, and this was in the 50s. So some history there that a lot of the chefs didn't know about. So what did you think about first the guest judges there, and then the story that Kristen told about Carson Gully?
The story about Gully was amazing. Did not know that. Um, and I'm glad that they brought that up, um, to give that little tidbit of history. Um, I think the judge should have, when it comes to a non-chef that is judging, he
Hmm.
wouldn't have been my W wouldn't have been my first choice.
Oh,
I would have
interesting.
been, no, I would have picked um what's the guy from the Roots, the drummer from the Roots. I would have picked
Oh
him
yeah.
over that. Because he's not just a fan of food. He's written a book, and he has this deep passion for it. I think what's his name just wanted to be on the show, But hey, um, but like I said, it's good to bring some people on there that palates aren't as trained as the chefs. So if they don't like something, it'll come out differently than it was, you know, as Tom would do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the non-chef judges that they bring on, and this is like the second comedian they had. They had a comedian in the the High Life episode when they're eating at the in the caves. There was a comedian there. I don't remember his name, but I like it when they bring in kind of the non-foodie people in there. It's almost like our gateway into that world, because the chef judges and the judges themselves, they're looking for technicalities and looking for things, and the rest of us are like, man, this is a good plate of food. I don't know what y'all nitpicking about, right? So it's always fun to hear the feedback from the non-chef judges, and feeling like, okay, I'm experiencing the
Yeah.
show through them. So the challenge was to create a dish featuring one of Chef Gully's sauces and the ingredients purchased from the farmer's market in 30 minutes. Winner gets $7,500. This is a money quickfire challenge. Kind of an interesting take. There's 10 chefs. There's 10 different cards, recipe cards in this box. I mean, there's a little drama when they were picking out the sauces. Kristen basically tells them, don't ruffle through the cards, just pick one and go. And Laura does the exact opposite. She actually looks through a couple of them, puts them down, and then picks up the one that she wants. And Dan and Danny actually call her out on that. Do you think that was a little gamesmanship on Laura, or was it just unconscious? She was just kind of looking through things. But
Oh
she
no,
didn't.
she knew what she was doing. Oh no, no. She knew exactly when someone tells you don't and you do, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dan even says, like, look, if that's what you got to do to win, fine. I'm just going to make the best cook I can. So yeah, so a little drama there, and this is not the last time that there's a little drama surrounding Laura through this episode, but we'll talk about that later. Um, what I liked is when they were asking about who got what sauces, there seemed to have been a quote unquote trap sauce.
It's a trap.
Just a horrible sounding sauce. I mean, all respect to Chef Gully, but this sauce sounds horrible that Michelle got. She got a raisin sauce. It had the ingredients on there was ham fat, vinegar, and Worcestershire and raisins. Like, and then Michelle was funny. She's like, "Why is this even a recipe?" And you think about those ingredients. I I can't even imagine like what that would go on.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. When I heard the raisin recipe, I was excited.
Oh yeah,
I was like, oh, a raisin recipe. You're looking at a meat. You looking at you can do it with a ham. You could do it with um, um, chicken. I mean, there's so many different ways you could turn it into a dessert. I mean, because they want you to do a rendition of it. Think of a bread pudding. Boom, a raisin sauce, a rum raisin sauce.
but
Um,
with ham and
and
Worcestershire though.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I like. Here's the thing. If you get certain dishes and play with them and 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 balance the acidity of that, I mean, there's no telling what you can do. And I like I said, there's meat that go. You can put that on. It's just the techniques is what is important for this. So we'll see how everybody else did with that. How she did with that, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's we won't talk about the whole cook, but let's talk about the bottom three and the top three. So the bottom three was Michelle with the raisin sauce. She unfortunately did not do well with that one. She made a spinach and feta baked egg with a sweet and sour ground cherry, raisin, and ham sauce. Uh, I like how Kamal talked about it. He said the raisin sauce and the egg were like Taylor Swift and Slipknot happening at the same time. He's like, I like them both, but not together. And that's kind of like that non-foodie feedback that is so funny to
Right.
hear, right?
Yeah.
He's not
Yep.
saying, well, the sweetness of the raisin and the cook of the egg didn't really go to that. He kind of broke it down in terms that we all can understand, right? And then Amanda was on the bottom three. She made an egg sauce, which with a Thai salad with coconut egg sauce and sweet pickles. The judges said the sauce was gloppy, which is not what you want in a sauce, right? And then
No.
Kevin, my boy Kevin's on the bottom again. Made a mushroom sauce with a poached egg with something German. I'm gonna really screw this up. Zigane Rahmschnitzel. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I
I
messed
couldn't
that one
remember
up.
what that was,
Yeah.
sir.
But the judges said there was no texture and everything ate the same. And I I'm a big texture guy when it comes to food. I like ice cream with like stuff in it. And I love the different textures in a food where your palate doesn't get bored. So if everything ate the same, if everything was soft or if everything was crunchy, then you get bored of eating it, and your mouth actually gets tired of having to chew it, right? So Kevin's
Right.
mushroom sauce, unfortunately, I guess everything was kind of on the soft side. So what did you think of these bottom three? And do you think the judges had the right feedback? Did it make sense?
No, I think the judges had everything just right,
Okay.
especially with a soft dish. You always want some kind of texture in it. If you think about a lot of the soft dishes that are out there, look at a creme brulee. It's a soft dish, but it has a crunch on top of it.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Michelle, love her to death. Um, I think she got the short end of this. I ain't gonna say the short end of the stick, but I think what she got was in her head my dish, and oh, I got this sauce because she didn't rifle through the cards and say, "Let me get this."
Yeah. Yeah, she just got stuck with the raisin sauce, didn't know what to do with it. And I don't think she was surprised at being in the bottom. I think she fully understood as soon as she got raisin sauce, this was not going to end well for her. So
Right, right,
let's
right, right.
talk. Yeah, so let's talk about the top three. So Charlie, your guy from New Orleans, was in the top three with the Creole sauce. He did with fingerling potatoes, with honey tomato chevre, and roasted pepper Creole sauce. He said the Creole sauce is something that he has at his restaurant. It's on the menu. And Kamal said it reflected the original sauce well, the original sauce that Chef Gully made. Laura had an herb sauce. She did that with a fattoush salad with fried tomatoes, eggplant, and feta. The judge said it was balanced and used the farmer's market ingredients well. And Manny made a Figaro sauce using farmer's market succotash with tomato sauce, rainbow trout, and kimchi. Kamal called it homey. So that's a really good compliment to get on a dish. When somebody says it's homey, that means it's comforting and it feels good and it reminds them of something at home. So these three, I think Charlie did really good. I mean, he dug into his bag of what he already knows, which is his sauce at the restaurant. Combine that with the experience of he's cooking a dish that his mom loved that brought to his mind, and he just altered it for the challenge, right? So I think he really took to heart, at least in the quick fire. We'll talk about the elimination challenge here in a minute, but at least in the quick fire, I think he took to heart what Kristen said when she came back and gave everybody a pep talk. Was like, cook who you are, right? Cook you. And I think in this particular challenge, he did that. What do you think?
I agree. He dug deep and was like, and most chefs. Let's back up for a moment. Notice how I pick my team. I told you not what their resume is, but where they're from,
Yep.
because they're always going to represent them, their culture, their people, the whole nine yards. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He went deep down where from his culture and something that his mom and that kind of a thing. So great little dish that he did, and yeah, like I said, I was happy to see him in that position.
Yep. So the winner is Charlie, and he wins $7,500, and loved what he said he was going to do with the money. He's getting married, if he's not already. The show filmed months ago, but he's getting married, and he's going to use the money for his wedding. So good for him. Gets a win under his belt. So good job with that. So from there, we move right into the elimination challenge, and they're hosting the Top Chef Supper Club, which apparently are a big deal in Wisconsin. I've never been to a supper club. They actually ended up going to a supper club with the guest judges. The additional guest judges that came in was Joe Popich and Shania Popich. They were co-owners of the Harvey House in Madison. That's a supper club. She described it as a supper club is where you would have a set menu depending on what day of the week it was. And they served everything family style. So all the chefs are sitting at Harvey House, eating food, getting inspiration, and all the food served family style. Now, I've been to family style restaurants before, but I've never been to or participated in a supper club. And you were saying earlier that the supper clubs that you do are kind of more, you go to a person's home, you kind of cook almost like a private chef. You go in and cook what they have, and then they have friends
Right.
over and everybody just enjoys themselves. And it is a social event, which is what I guess the main aspect of a supper club is. It's just a big social event that people come together and eat, and family is served, food is served family style. So what did you think about this particular challenge? Did you like it? Did you enjoy watching it?
Well, I like the challenge of, doing the supper club. Um, the only thing I didn't like about that particular challenge was the way that people acted in the stores.
Oh, at the grocery store. Yeah, we'll talk about that for a minute. So,
But as far as the overall, I thought it was a great idea. Once again, taking something old and put your twist on it. That's what I was looking excited for,
yeah,
because when you do things like that, you get younger cooks to really pay attention to the history of where food comes from.
yep,
And
yep.
as long as you know where it came from, now you can put your own twist on it because you know certain things. So overall, great challenge.
Yep. Yeah. So the chefs are divided into two teams of five, and they all draw knives to see whose teams are going to be on. So we have the green team and the purple team. So the green team is Amanda, Laura, Danny, Charlie, and Manny. What were you
Did
gonna
you
say?
wait? Hold on. Did you hear the expression when they said it's a team challenge? Everybody like, oh no.
I know. I've not seen a group of chefs that hated team challenges as much as this one. Like I saw that and I was like, come on, man. I mean, this is part of the game. You gotta deal with it. Like you're I
Everybody was
saw
like,
I saw
oh
everybody
my
roll
god,
their
a
eyes
team
and like, oh,
challenge.
it's a team challenge. No. So yeah, nobody likes team challenges in season 21, I guess. So
That, I laughed on that one. As soon as she said it's a team challenge, they were like, oh Lord.
I know it was funny. So the green team was
So
Amanda,
yeah,
Laura.
there's a lot. There's a lot that can go on in these team challenges. That's why they like, man. So,
Yeah,
but go
because
ahead, sir.
well, I mean, yeah, because as a team, you win and lose as a team, and you could be on the losing team and created the best dish, and that's not fair to some people, but that's how teams go, right? Even if you're Michael Jordan, if the Bulls
Yep,
lose, you lose, right? So,
yep.
so the green team we had Amanda, Laura, Danny, Charlie, and Manny. For the purple team, we had Kevin, Michelle, Rossica, who has immunity, Dan, and Savannah. So we talked about them going to the Harvey house to get some inspiration. Then they go shopping. So let's talk about this shopping trip for a second. So the teams have $1,000 as a collected budget, as a team budget to spend. So should be easy enough, right? $200 a chef. Done. Done. So the
Done.
purple team seems to understand that, but the poor green team,
Yo.
yeah, and they're off to the races. They're getting their stuff. They're under budget. They're fine. The green team is just like everybody forgot to do math. Laura blows out the budget because she wants to make dessert, but she wants to do like a two-way dessert. And so she's doing a tres leches cake, or what she calls a four leches cake. But she buys alcohol, which isn't cheap. So I'm sure she didn't buy like the $2 Chuck version of rum, right? She probably got
Right.
the expensive rum, all the flour, all the milk and stuff like that. And she's buying like all
Boy, here's
expensive
the crazy
ingredients.
part though. But listen, here's the crazy part. If you're gonna do rum or liquor, why not get a miniature versus a $40, $50? I don't know how much the liquor costs, but then you got people like Danny just shorthanded on his food because you want to make two things. Everybody else making one. You want to make two things. Yeah, I would. Like I said, I was not a fan of that. And she made the thing that made it crazy was she made a big point about, well, I really need this, I really need that,
Yeah.
versus we as a team need to, stretch the money, stretch this. But she was not a team player.
Yeah, everybody was having to give up something to get it under budget except for Laura. And poor Danny, by the time we got to him, he was the last to check out. He basically had like a buck 50 to spend and was having to use like dollar store whitefish. I mean, this poor guy had like nothing left to spend on his food, and he was pissed after everybody finally checked out. He's like, he took a walk, like he took a walk down the aisle, and I don't blame him. I'd have been mad too if Laura was unwilling to give up anything and everybody else had to give up stuff. Like, this is a team challenge. We all got to give and take. But Laura's dish was so important that she had to have all of these hyper expensive ingredients. And you're right, the bottle of rum that she bought was the big bottle. And like, you're making a cake for 40 people. It's not, you're not going to use that much rum. Like, you could have bought a smaller bottle of rum.
You could
So
have bought a pint.
yeah,
You could have bought a pint, not a big thing.
yeah, I think she was buying it for herself. I mean, I don't
Yeah, that's what it
know.
was. Cake to the head.
Yeah, so I was not a big
That's
fan of
crazy.
Laura this episode. First with the recipe cards and her kind of picking hers out, and everybody else is following the directions and getting one at random, and then her basically blowing the budget on a team challenge. That's not, it's not going to bode well for the rest of the team. So as we get to the next day, when they cook, Manny gives all of his carrots to Danny, and because he understands that Danny's doing like a vegetable relish dish at the beginning, and Manny gives
Right.
him all the carrots and says, "Look, we're gonna win or lose as a team." And he and Manny understood what the challenge was, because if Danny's dish is subpar, because he wasn't able to get all of his ingredients, it doesn't matter how great Laura's high dollar dessert is. They're all going to lose. And I don't think Laura understood that. Manny understood that the next day and gave all of his carrots to him. I thought that was a really sportsmanlike gesture, and did the
He's a
right
team
thing.
player. He's a team player. Man, he's like, listen, we're in this together. Come hell or high water, we gonna ride this out. That's what a team player does. Even though it's a competition, it's a team right now. At this particular point in the universe, we're a team,
Yeah. Yep.
and he stepped up. So yeah, but yeah, your girl just kind of disappointed me.
She's on your team, I think, right? I don't know.
I'm
Well,
giving her to you. I'm giving her to you. You can have her,
I was
man.
like, my girl, she's
She's
on
just
your team. So for the Supper Club Challenge menu, everybody had to make a relish tray, a fish dish, a chicken dish, a beef dish, and a dessert. So I thought that was really interesting to see how that was going to turn out. So let's talk about meal service. So the green team goes first. I do like how in this challenge they just had one team serve first and then the next team serve next. So it wasn't like relish versus relish in this one, because with the Supper Club
right.
type challenge, you do want to experience the whole meal as an entire unit. So the green team serves first, and it was Danny and Charlie up first. Danny has his relish with his $1.50 pickled vegetables, black garlic tahini, labna with za'atar, and a smoked whitefish with frina bread. And Charlie had had the fish course with epis rubbed fried trout, coconut epis sauce, and preserved lemon pickles. So Kristen asked the chefs what they thought about the budget. Danny was very diplomatic. I thought he was very nice about this,
Yes.
about how he wishes he had more money. And um, Danny, during the cook, said that his tahini was too salty. He knew it going in. And he said, if I
Right.
can tell it's too salty, the judges are going to tell it's too salty. And sure enough, the judges did. But one of the judges said that, with the bread, it was fine. I think it was Kamal that said it was salty, but with the bread, it kind of evens itself out. Charlie's fish apparently was really overcooked. And the pickles, which are supposed to be spicy, said it was just all lemon and no heat. So that wasn't really a pickles.
But in his defense, when he made it before, old boy was choking on it like woo, caught me
Yeah,
off guard. So
yeah,
it made him gun shy. They're like, okay, yeah, these people can't handle um, this pickles, and that's the. It's funny that he should say that because I'm always telling folks that um, if you try real dishes, not what's American made, like if you go to Haiti and have pickles, oh yeah, that
it'll
thing
blow
will
your
light
mind.
you on fire. But it's good. Like when I was in Haiti, I mean the pickles was full of power and punch and flavor and spice. The griot was just right there. I mean, all the flavors were big and bold. I believe that a lot of ethnic restaurants in the states they Americanize a lot of dishes.
Oh, of
So
course,
when you
yeah.
go to Mexico and when you go to China, whatever, it's like that's not what it is.
Yeah.
That's not how that. And you like no, this is how it's supposed to be. What they do over there, it's not like if you go to Japan and ask for duck sauce, they're gonna like the hell are you talking about? We don't do
Right,
duck sauce.
exactly.
We
Yeah,
don't do
yeah.
duck sauce.
Yeah.
So that I think that was one of his issues that he had was he didn't want to put too much in there because he didn't want people to be like I can't eat it because it's too spicy.
Yeah, and he talks about that at judges table too, where Joe Flam was kind of like coughing at how spicy something was, and it did get in his head a little bit. And I think that's what happened here, where his pickles didn't have any heat at all. It was just all lemon flavor. So yeah, so kind of a decent, halfway decent start. A little salty, no heat. The fish is overcooked, so green team's looking a little rough, but it's the start here. So the next courses coming up are Amanda and Manny. Amanda has the chicken course, so she makes a hot chicken katsu, Szechuan mala spice, apple miso mustard sauce with red cabbage and sauerkraut relish. Manny had the beef course, so he makes an ancho crusted New York strip loin, palms puree, and cilantro, epazote, and Marcona almond salsa verde. So the judges said that Amanda crushed the sauce and the balance of flavors, quote, knocked it out of the park. The chicken is nicely fried. The cabbage is nicely seasoned. Technically, she got everything right. Manny's salsa verde was flavorful and acidic, but the soft puree with the tough steak didn't mesh. The meat is tough to cut and chew. So Manny didn't do great on his steak. Amanda had a good chicken dish. So Amanda really kind of leaned into some Japanese cooking techniques there and put out a good meal. And Manny's New York strip loin came out tough, unfortunately. What'd you think of that?
Well, the cat. I'm a big fan of katsu. Big fan of that. And it looked. I couldn't taste it, but it looked very good, very
Yeah, it looked
crispy,
good.
the whole 9 yards. I like I said, I'm a huge chicken katsu fan. Um, the steak, I think he was going for what he was going for. It didn't come out as much as he wanted to. But like someone said, some people like it that way.
Yeah,
Some people don't. And that's the thing about steaks. You got 8 people cooking for them, and now how do you figure out how to do two medium, one rare? It just the timing on it between your temperature cooking and your carryover cooking, it'll take it from a medium to a medium well very
right,
quickly.
right.
So like that's why I say, some people like it like that, some people don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Steak's not like chicken, right? Chicken's either
yeah,
raw or cooked,
done.
but with steak,
Exactly. Raw
yeah,
is done.
yeah. But steak, you gotta. It's more, a little bit more forgiveness. But in this case, I think collectively everybody thought it was just a little too much. So, all
Yeah.
right. So now we get to Laura and her high dollar dessert, the four leches cake, which is a tres leches cake with brandy cherries and chocolate brandy cocktail. So she made two desserts essentially. Well, a cocktail and a dessert. And the judge said it was too soggy. There was too much milk. It was way too sweet, according to one of the judges, but they still ate it. Tom thinks the cake and the cocktail are okay individually, but don't complement each other. And it doesn't sound like all the money she cost her team paid off. Like she had to have all these expensive ingredients, but she didn't knock it out of the park. And dessert, man, that's where you got to bring it home, right? You got to bring it home with the dessert.
But
And she
that's
spent all that money and didn't do it.
that's what if I were on her team, that would have pissed me off to the highest of festivity because you spent all this money and there's no ROI, no return on the investment. It's not like
Right.
you did this dish and they were like, oh my God, that's gonna take us over the top. It's like, and I've had a Brandy Alexander before, and I've had the Tres Leches, but to spend that much money and not get a return on your investment as a team, I'm pissed at you.
Yeah.
This is what you fought for. So you should have brought it home with this particular dish, but she didn't do it. And
No.
everybody was like, this, yeah. I
Yeah.
would have been, if I were on a team, I would have been very upset about that.
Yeah. I'd have been mad too. I'd have been mad too. So let's talk about the purple team. So the purple team kind of cooked more as a unit. I think they came together more as a team through the shopping and the cooking. So let's break down the meal service for the purple team. So Dan and Rasica were up first. Dan had relish and Rasica had fish. So with Dan, he had a crudité plate, crudités in soil, steak tartare, chicken liver mousse, pickled shallots, and fried seed toast. Rosica had semolina fried snapper, peanut and jaggery dip, and smoked sturgeon herb sauce. Tom thinks both dishes were lively, especially Dan's. He hit the nail on the head with the relish tray. The liver mousse, he said, melts in your mouth and adds great acidity to the pickle. Gail said she was just annoyed that she got 3 pieces of vegetable and she still had a big old thing of dip. And so Tom says, stick your finger in that dip. You're among friends. They
Yes.
did say, though, Rosica's fish was way too salty and her green sauce was even saltier. So she had a salt problem on the fish. Dan, did well. I think he did pretty good on this one.
I expected him to do well since that's his backyard, and he
Yeah.
grew up going to supper clubs and things of that nature. So, hats off to Danny. I mean, he did a great job.
Yeah,
Great job.
this was in his bag, so he knew what especially what the judges that go to these supper clubs, what they were looking for. So I think he
Right.
did really well. So Savannah and Kevin were up next. Savannah had the chicken and Kevin had the beef. So Savannah did a chicken tonkatsu, white sturgeon caviar emulsion, and a sweet pickled cabbage. Kevin had a beef tenderloin with a sherry jus and confit potatoes. Savannah also has kind of a Japanese cooking background, so she made a tonkatsu. And she said when they were developing the menu that she does something like this in a restaurant and then just dollops a whole big old thing of caviar on it. And it looks like that's what she did here. Kevin cooked his beef to his own liking, but the judges found it too undercooked. So Kamal said this thing still got a name, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I like my steaks rare. I don't like them blue, but I like them mid rare. And the way they looked, it looked raw. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It looked like he just cooked it 30 seconds one side, flipped it over, cooked it 30 seconds on the other side, and it was still a little blue. What'd you think?
But you know what? Like I said, I know people that when I was in the military, there was a guy on my boat. We had steak night. He's like, look, we throw the steak down. He walk up to the line. He say, flip it over. Now give it to me. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, give it to me just like that. I'm like, hey, all right. And I would give it to him. So people love their steak the way they love their steak.
Yeah, yeah. But like the other bit, like Manny's other beef dish, everybody I think collectively as a group thought it was too undercooked. So, yeah, I mean that's unfortunate. I think with the beef dishes, they had I think 3 hours to cook. I think with both the beef dishes, I think you could have sous vide those easily. Like 2 hours to get it to mid rare in a sous vide, and so you use that 2 hours to cook something else, and then you finish it off. You finish it off on either side to get a crust on it, and you're done. And you have an even cook all the way around. Everybody gets the same cook on the meat. Plenty of time to do that. I'm kind of surprised. I've seen sous vide techniques used in Top Chef before, so I'm kind of really surprised that they didn't do it here.
Well, if you think about it, I'm with you. There is every piece of equipment you need at Top Chef, and grabbing a sous vide and throw that steak in there would be just. I mean, I sous vide. I just sous vide a piece of fish, a pompano, and it takes longer, but the flavor was just amazing. I did a pompano,
Yeah.
and it was great. And like you say, put that steak in there, and at the last minute, sear it.
Yep.
Poulet it with some black garlic, rosemary. When it would have been perfect like that, but I don't know what they were thinking without that. And like I said, Top Chef kitchens have everything you need in there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Michelle takes it home with dessert. So she had a coconut bread pudding with pineapple cream sauce. Looked fantastic. I love a good bread pudding. It's one of my favorite desserts. The judges said it was a classic supper club dessert. The pineapple is caramelized nicely. They said overall it's beautiful. Tom thinks it needed more pineapple and more sauce. But earlier in the shopping, Michelle gave up some of her pineapple to help Savannah. but it didn't sound like it hurt her too much. I think everybody liked it. So that's part of that. You only have $1,000 and you got to give something up, so you have to stretch that pineapple as much as you can. But it sounds like some people got a little bit more pineapple. Some people didn't get
Yeah.
enough pineapple, but I thought it looked like a great dessert. I wanted to dive in. What do you think?
I'm with you. I was like, I would have jumped into that one. I like a good bread pudding. Being a Southern man, I like a good bread pudding, especially one that somebody does differently out of the box. And I think she did a great job doing that one. I like I said, this whole challenge with everybody, you've done except for Miss Lady, but you did what you can do with what you had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like you had a big budget, so that pushes you. Having a small budget pushes your creativity versus I got $500 per person. I can do this. So yeah, you're gonna go buy the big ball of rum and this and this and that. But when you got a small budget, that really pushes your creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you there. So let's talk about judges table. So everybody comes back to judges table. Amanda's missing. Apparently she was a little bit sick, so she did not attend judges table. But they do announce that the purple team wins. So let's talk about the top three.
Yeah.
The top three were Savannah, Michelle, and Dan. And Dan, did great. He said he actually he was the winner of the judges table, and he said, even though I have a physical limitation, my brain is sharp as a pencil. I know how to put flavors together. It just reaffirms the fact that I belong here. And Dan did a great job. Like I said, I think this was in his bag, and I think he took full advantage of being a Wisconsinite and understanding what this challenge was. And we talked about Savannah and Michelle. Michelle had a great looking dessert. Savannah was technically done well. I think she found her strength in this particular challenge in cooking the chicken. So I thought it was a good top three. So Savannah, Michelle, Dan. Dan ends up winning. What'd you think here?
Well, I knew Dan would win that one. I mean, he cooked it. Let's back out of his. Let's back out of what he did. Let's talk about the environment that he was in. He was in a very team orientated group.
Hmm.
So it was easy for him to cook and get the backing from his fellow chefs.
Yeah, a lot of support.
And he knew what he wanted to do. He's been there, done that since he was a kid, the whole 9 yards. So he cooked with that confidence. So when he won, you could see the look on his face, like, yeah, I knew this is something I've been doing. So
Yep.
hats off to him. Michelle, love her to death. Very creative what she's done with what she had. Like I said, the budget that they had was just amazing. For them to do that. So like I said, I'm glad that of course, I'm always rooting on Michelle.
Yeah.
But Dan did it. He, like I said, he did his thing. He did his thing.
Yep.
All three of them did their thing and understood the assignment. That's the thing. They understood the assignment and did a great job. Dan just, like I said, that was in his wheelhouse, in his back pocket, been there, done that. I just did this last Sunday with my family, that
Right.
type of thing. So he was like, yeah, I got this. And
Yep.
his team was like, all right, you got it. Tell us what we need to do to help. Yeah. And I'm loving the fact that, he's not letting his not disability, but he letting his medical issues not get in his way. And his
Right.
team is there to help him out. Like, okay, this, because they know what he's trying to do. He's just shaking a little bit and things like that. So even though Dan's not on my team, I'm rooting for Dan.
Yeah, Dan's doing great, and I hope to see him go far in this competition.
Yeah.
I love to see whenever they have the local chef for that state. I kind of end up rooting for them because they're from the hometown. They're the hometown kid. So I'm hoping
Right,
Dan
right, right,
Dan
right.
does really well. So let's talk about the bottom three. So the bottom three ended up being Laura, Manny, and Charlie, all on your team. So the budget comes up, and the judges called out Laura for blowing the budget.
Where's my money?
And Tom
Yeah.
says, do one thing right. Don't do two things okay. Alluding to the fact that she tried to do two things for dessert, and she fell into that
I
trap. She
agree.
fell into that trap of, doing two dishes in one, because you have twice as many chances to get judged. And that's exactly what happened here with Laura.
It's a trap.
I thought Danny and Manny were very gracious in describing the situation at the grocery store. They could have easily and justifiably threw Laura under the bus, but they did not.
Yeah.
They were just saying, look, the budget was tight. It happens, and that's kind of why my dishes came out to be the way they were. Is we just ran out of money. So I think Laura got off easier than she probably should have. And this is the different era of Top Chef. I think if this were like season 5 of Top Chef, you would have seen some throwing under the bus for sure. But now when we get into these later seasons of Top Chef, where the chefs are much more have much more camaraderie between each other, they're a little bit less likely to do that. But in this case, I think Laura sabotaged her team by doing this.
But I think this on camera they were like,
Oh, sure.
didn't throw her under the bus. But off camera while having drinks, I can only imagine what they would
Oh,
say.
I'm sure words were said for sure. So Laura, Manny, and Charlie were in the bottom 3. Charlie ends up getting eliminated and heading to Last Chance Kitchen. I think overall he overthought the challenge. We talked about it before. I think Joe Flam got into his head from week 2 about it being
Yep.
too spicy, and he just didn't want to pull the trigger on his Haitian spiciness. And the judges unfortunately called his fish inedible. It was so overcooked. It was mushy, which is not what you want to hear.
No.
So Charlie got eliminated. So that brings us straight into Last Chance Kitchen, and it's a 2-parter. It's kind of the mid-season finale. Sue needs to get through these next 2 challenges to get back in. All 3 of them could get back in. If Charlie were to cook through, he gets back in immediately. Kalina has a chance to get back in, and then Sue's 2 wins away from getting in. So let's talk about Last Chance Kitchen, the 2-part finale. I thought it was great. So the first challenge with the 3 chefs, so we have Kalina, Sue, and Charlie cooking for their lives here. So the first challenge is to make a breakfast dish inspired by a club sandwich with at least 5 layers. So kind of a play on the Breakfast Club.
Sincerely yours, the Breakfast Club.
They did a supper club. Now they're doing a quote unquote breakfast club. But Tom took it literally and make essentially a layered breakfast platter inspired by a club sandwich. So again, 30 minutes, a lot to do to have to cook 5 layers of food. So let's talk about the dishes. Charlie made a sandwich with fried plantains, really green bananas. He couldn't find any plantains, so they were just really, really green bananas. He did a grilled skirt steak, pickles, avocado, and harissa cream sauce. The pickles were spicy this time. I think he pulled the trigger on this one, but unfortunately the steak was a little bit on the bland side. Kalina did a toasted croissant with bacon, tomato chutney, poached egg, and chipotle hollandaise sauce. Tom said everything was seasoned. The tomato relish was bright and acidic. The chipotle hollandaise added a nice smokiness. And then Sue comes out with this, like, I don't know what this thing was. This thing was like massive. He even said it himself that the other 2 plates were tiny and petite, and he comes out with this like heart attack on a platter. It was huge. It was a breakfast club with
a hangover sandwich.
Yeah, hangover sandwich. It was a club sandwich with a pork cutlet, eggs, fried raisin bread, orange marmalade, cheddar, and a Mornay sauce. Lots of cheese and bread. Marmalade was Tom's favorite. He said he might have overdone it with the raisin bread. Like he went 1 extra layer by throwing the raisin bread in at the last minute. So looking at the dishes, I love a good breakfast sandwich. I actually had a breakfast sandwich for dinner tonight because I didn't have anything defrosted. I had some eggs, I had some bread, I had some lunch meat. I made a nice little breakfast sandwich. But I do love a good breakfast sandwich. What did you think of this challenge and the level of difficulty to do a 5-layer platter in like 30 minutes?
I'm a breakfast guy myself. Growing up when I was in high school, my breakfast sandwich was for breakfast and dinner whenever, all the time. So I thought it was great. Sue took it way over the top. Way over the top. But that's who he is. Charlie, he went with that cultural thing that I love. He didn't have the plantain, so he got the bananas and smashed it and things like that. So
Hmm.
I was impressed with him. I just wish we had scratch and sniff on the screen, and
Oh, I
some
know.
way somehow we can do that.
Yeah.
Um, so like I said they all three did some different things trying to redeem themselves, and yeah, like I said, but that's a open book as well when you say create me a club breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
There's so many things that go along with breakfast. From think about this, not just so many different things. Look at each one of those in their culture. You see what I'm saying? So you
Yeah.
could have just did the Haitian, the Asian, and there's so many different ways you can go that. So like I said, for them to pick those three, and she was, I mean, yeah, she was doing her thing, making the hollandaise and
Yeah.
chipotle. So yeah, she did her thing.
So Tom's favorite dish was Kalina's. And I thought somebody was going to get eliminated, but Tom, swerves and he doesn't eliminate anybody. He said that Sue and Charlie's dishes were both great, and he didn't think either one of them were bad enough to go home. So part two is all three of them cooking again. But this time, Kalina being his favorite dish from part one, she gets an extra 5 minutes to cook. So she gets 35 minutes versus 30 for the other two. So part two, the challenge was 30 minutes to showcase who you are as a chef in a single bite. And these are always tough challenges, right? Because you got to get everything in one bite. Have you ever done one of those type of dishes or challenges where you had to do like a single bite of the best thing you could ever make in one bite?
Are you kidding me? That's how I won on the Food Network. I made one bite. I had to do. We had skirt steak, papitas, dulce de leche, and a pantry. And I made on one spoon, it was a dulce de leche crusted skirt steak with a charred salsa. So when I saw this challenge, I was like, oh, I've been there, done that. Even when I've done my competition events, I tell them there's a tie, one bite. And it's the only disappointment in this one bite thing was nobody put it on a spoon.
Yeah, I saw the end dishes. I mean, they were small, sure, but it wasn't like. And Tom even held a spoon in his hand and said in one bite and held up a spoon. I thought, oh, it's going to be one of those types of challenges. But they
And
didn't do that.
so
They were small, but they weren't on spoons.
I did when I did mine, I had to serve it literally on a tablespoon. So that they picked it up and put it in their mouth, and it was like boom. And knowing that it was just one spoon, one of the things I did that was a little different that you really couldn't see on the plate was so the dulce de leche crusted skirt steak with the charred salsa with the papitas on top. What I did was I I smeared um, grainy mustard at the bottom of the spoon, just a light coating of that on the spoon. So when you put it in your mouth and you pull it out, pow, you get this punch.
Yeah,
And and like I said, when you have grainy mustard in the mouth, you got grainy mustard in your mouth, and it's
right.
coming out, pow. Good, bad, or indifference, who put grainy mustard on it. And so I was excited about this challenge. Oh, I was so
Yeah.
excited.
So let's talk about the dishes real quick. So Kalina, her single bite was a grilled venison with miso sweet potato puree, mushrooms, daikon, and pear. Tom asked each chef, "How was this representative of you? How was this one bite representative of you as a chef?" So Kalina said she's a forger. She likes foraging for food. So the mushrooms are representative of that. Tom said that the miso corn sweet potato was quote luscious. So that sounds like that was a good dish. Sue, I thought did something I was not expecting as a single bite. He's like, I'm gonna do a Caesar salad. I'm like, you're gonna do a what? I was like, you're gonna do a Caesar salad, but he had some twists. So let's talk about that. So he had a Caesar salad with black garlic and fish sauce dressing, fried anchovies, pecorino, and aged balsamic. I thought the plating was very creative with that glass dome on top. And I was like, okay, how does this represent you, Sue, as a chef? And Tom asked him that. And Sue said, look, my first kitchen job, I worked the salad, and all I did was make hundreds of Caesar salads every night. So that was representative of his like first kitchen job. And Tom called it ballsy and had a lot of umami. I also thought it was very ballsy to make a Caesar salad. This could have gone wrong in 100 different ways, right? I mean, when you first heard he was doing a Caesar salad, what went through your head?
Personally, I thought it was a great idea
Yeah,
because you take a simple dish and you elevate it. And I'm gonna tell you, for me, what sold it for me was the smoking gun.
yeah,
I'm a huge fan of the smoking gun. I do a dessert right now that people like, dude, that is. I do. As a matter of fact, it's two desserts I do that I use my smoking gun with. It's a stuffed strawberry with a cheesecake filling, and it's served on a with a cream and glaze sauce, um, with a pan perdue, and then I have the cherry smoked chocolate pasta dish. So I love the smoking gun. So when he did the smoking gun,
yeah.
the dome on top, I was like, yeah, he took it there. And the black garlic and the oh yeah, because he used the same ingredients, just a different size of it. You know, garlic goes into the Caesar dressing, but he chose
Right,
black garlic. So
right.
yeah, like I said, I was quite impressed with his with that, just a simple little thing. And with Charlie, man, yeah, that's my dude.
Yeah, Charlie, he made some bad decisions for a last chance kitchen cook. He tried to make pasta fresh. So let's talk about his dish. He did something called a spaghetti, a spaghetti with smoked herring, andouille sausage, and an egg yolk sauce. Charlie said it represented him because of his Haitian upbringing, and that there was a guy on the corner of the street selling bowls of a spaghetti, or what they called a spaghetti, there in Haiti. So he tried to make pasta fresh in 30 minutes, and you just can't do it. And it became his downfall. I'm not for sure why he chose to do that. Tom said the herring sauce was full of flavor, but his pasta was rushed and it didn't chew well. I don't know. When you saw him making pasta, did you want to reach through the screen and kind of do shake him by the shoulders?
No, my thing was, it's Top Chef. You going big or go home. And when I was in Haiti, you know, they do. I've had the pasta with the herring. I've had that. Um, so I was looking forward to seeing what his twist was on that. Um, but no, like I said, I thought if he pulled it off, he's going down to history. Oh, he's
Yeah,
going down to history. So I mean, sometimes you on these shows, especially Top Chef show, you gotta bring something different and show them just why you're there. And pulling off a pasta dish in 30 minutes. Now, keep this in mind. Somebody else is gonna be armchairing this and saying, why would anybody try to do? He's not anybody. He's a professional chef.
right,
You're sitting at home like it took you 30 minutes just to come up with the idea, set up your machine, the whole 9 yards. He did
right.
all that in 30 minutes. So, like I said, it didn't work out for him, but it worked out for him.
Yeah. It was one of those things when you trying to make fresh pasta at Last Chance Kitchen. It's just big, big risk, big rewards. Go big or go home kind of thing. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off
Right.
for him. Charlie was eliminated largely because of that pasta. And then I thought what normally happens in Last Chance Kitchen is they usually leave you hanging on who wins, and you don't find out until the next week when they bring him into the kitchen of who won. So I was really surprised that they announced the winner and who's going back. What really surprised me even
Yep.
more is that it was Kalina and Sue. So Kalina and Sue are going to go back. So we go from top 10 to start this episode. We lose one, so we go down to 9, and now we're up to 11. So we're going to have 11 chefs remaining after next week. So Kalina and Sue are heading back. I'm so happy that Sue's going in. Partly because he was the only one on my team that was actually generating some points, but two, he showed so much creativity in Last Chance Kitchen over these last 5 challenges. I cannot wait to see what he's going to be doing, what he can do in the main competition. And he was just an assassin in the Last Chance Kitchen. He was just knocking chefs off left and right. What'd you think of Sue going in? And they're going to be a big surprise. He
I
walks through the
mean,
kitchen doors. Who's this guy?
well, like I said, I'm you can't be anything but happy for the guy because he earned his spot.
Absolutely.
there. So it wasn't like he slid in, or he wasn't in the middle of anything. He wasn't in the back of anything. He was smack dab in front of the class kind of a thing. So he couldn't hide behind anybody or any team or anything like that. So he had to do his thing. So hats off to him. Great job. I know when he gets in there, I think what's going to happen is this. Him, Danny, and Rasika are going to go head to head.
Yeah, I'm predicting I'm predicting a Sue and Rasika final. I'm calling it now. 5
Yep.
episodes in, I'm calling a Sue and Rasika final. I don't know who the third person's going to be in the final 3, but I think it's going to be Sue and Rasika for sure, because Rasika's killing it in the challenges. Sue is killing it in Last Chance Kitchen. Also, Kalina. I mean, Kalina was super focused in these last couple of Last Chance Kitchen cooks. I mean, she was head down, laser focused, eyes of a champion, going in and doing
I
these
told
cooks.
you, and see, just like the last weeks we've been doing this, yes, I may be up by points, and I'm not gonna, do backflips, because what did I tell you? There's a lot of cooking that needs to be done. So yes, right now I'm way ahead, but you never know what's going to happen. Every chef will have a bad day, and that bad day may be no acid versus the other one had acid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yes, great job that I'm way ahead, but we're still got what 10 more weeks to go before
Yeah.
something happens. So like I said, and this is a good week to show you exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of my guys are on the bottom of the barrel. One got eliminated, that type of thing. So like I said, you can't just walk into Top Chef thinking you're the biggest dog on the yard and nobody else is going to say anything to you or challenge you for anything. So egos come down when you get into those situations.
Yep. Yep. So let's give everybody a draft point update. So here's where we stand after 5 episodes. So in episode 5, the quickfire winner was Charlie. So Charlie gets you 5 points for the quickfire challenge. Top of the judges table, we had, let's see. Oops, I thought I said this. So top of the judges table, we had Savannah and Michelle and Dan. So Savannah and Michelle get you 3 points each. Dan got me 7. So yes, I'm on the board and with my first judges table win. And so the elimination winner was Dan. Get me 7 points there. On the bottom, you had Laura, Manny, and Charlie. So that's -2 points for each of you there. So all 3, unfortunately, were on the bottom for you. And then the Last Chance Kitchen was again all me on my team. Got Sue and Kalina +2 for each of them. So Sue got 2, Kalina got 2. So episode totals. So for this episode, I actually won this episode. I got 11 points. I'm so happy. I got 11 points. You had some points, but then they were negated by the bottom of the judges table. So you actually got 0 points this episode. But with the overall show totals, you are still way ahead of me at 44 and I have 12. So apologies for cutting in on this video, but I didn't realize until after the recording, I got my math all wrong for the episode and show total points to date. So here's the actual point totals so far through episode 5. So the quickfire winner was Charlie with 5 points, but because he was also on the bottom of the judges table, he got -2 points for a total of just 3 points. Top of the judges table is Savannah and Michelle with +3 points each. Elimination winner was Dan for +7 points. The bottom of the judges table, already mentioned Charlie, Laura, and Manny were also on the bottom 3, so -2 points each for them. Last Chance Kitchen wins were Sue and Kalina, so +2 points for each of those. So the episode totals were Team Southern Passing Lounge. He got 5 points for the episode. I got 11 points for the episode. And the show total so far is Team SPL for 49 points, and EYC, Team Eat Your Content, got 12 points. So we are at 49-12. Again, so sorry. Thank you for understanding, and I'll see myself out.
Right, like I told you, I'm not going to be doing backflips because I'm 44 and you're 0. That doesn't mean anything because we still have so much cooking to do. And this week proves exactly what I said. So hats off to you, sir. Congratulations to you and your team. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot more cooking to be done and competitions and you know, with Tom calling the shots, there's no telling what they're gonna be up to next.
That's right. Any given Sunday, as they say, any team can go down on any given
Yeah.
Sunday. So, well, I think we did it. We knocked out episode 5 here. Was there any other notes about the show that you wanted to talk about that we missed, or anything that comes to mind?
I just hope that uh, next time they have a team challenge and they got to go buy some food, that person, whoever it is, doesn't eat up a budget, even have an ROI for the team because that was just that's just unsportsmanlike conduct. That's just being selfish and
Yeah,
looking at the car. If you have to do that, by all means, hey, good for you. But that's why when people ask me to do these cooking shows, I'm not a big fan of living with people. I'm not a big fan of this cutthroat kind of a thing. Not a fan of that. So that's when I was on the Food Network when I got invited to participate in it. First thing I said was, "Do I have to live with anybody?" It was like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, I do it." So so yeah, like I said, I think that once Sue gets into the picture, watch out. There's gonna be a thunderstorm coming.
yeah. I think he's going to force everybody's game to go up a level. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's doing. So, yeah. So that's it. We got it done. Well, Chef, what do you got going on this week that you want to promote? Any appearances that people can be looking forward to?
Man, listen, I'm doing a private dinner coming up here real soon, which follow me on Instagram and my website. You'll see the pictures. Hopefully, see the pictures of that. I've been doing a lot of things with the youth right now, so that's coming up. You may want to continue to follow me because there's a pop-up series about to happen here in Jacksonville, and
All right.
the chefs that are going to be hanging out with me, we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, that
So just follow me
sounds
on
great.
Instagram at Chef Amadeus. Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Chef Amadeus. My website is chefamadeus.net. TikTok is Chef Amadeus. Continue to follow me. Everybody who's bought the spices, appreciate that. And I continue to send me your cooking questions and all that good stuff. I'll be more than happy out. It is grilling season, so I'm here for you.
Awesome. So that's at Chef Amadeus and chefamadeus.net. Don't forget to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content. And hit that like, follow, and subscribe button on your podcast player of choice to be notified of new episodes coming up. Chef, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Always, man. This has just been so much fun hanging out with you here every week. Yeah, I might do this more often. I like this.